All right, I'm out here at Northtown Park with the new Rodeo from Mint Discs. This is one of the new molds manufactured by Prodigy. I'm going to compare it to a few other things because I'm still genuinely curious kind of where it sits compared to some Mustangs, the Taco, and then I've got a few Bobcats. Um, Hand feel wise, it kind of feels, especially this regular is the regular Eternal, and this is Mega Soft Eternal, so really gummy. This Mega Soft's a little bit flatter, kind of feels like the second run. I should have brought one second run Eternal Mustangs, and then this regular Eternal Rodeo has quite a bit of dome, a little bit gummy because it is still kind of pretty hot, and this one was sitting in my car on the way here, so a little gummy there, but not nearly as much as this Mega Soft Eternal. And then, like I said, a little bit deeper than a Mustang, but kind of has that similar feel. It's got a nice little micro bead kind of at the bottom. Some people say it's flashing, but it's after even throwing some of these a few times, it's still kind of there. I almost would call it like a micro bead. Uh, Feels not as much of a bead as the tacos here. This is the one I've had in my bag. But again, a little more dome, maybe a little bit deeper, or at least curls in on the thing. So I'm expecting it to fly similar to the taco, although I kind of thought the taco would be the Mustang that never flips over kind of thing, but these ended up being a little more stable and they kind of drift to the left. So I'm curious to see how the Rodeo flies. I've thrown the Megasoft Eternal a few times since it came out. I got it like a week or two ago out at Moody's. And at the time, throwing it into a ton of wind, but it seems to have just kind of a low glide, maybe a little bit more stable than the Taco. But I'm curious to see it next to some Mustangs in. We'll still throw it in the wind out here in Northtown, but curious to see how it fits between the Mustang, Bobcat, Taco, somewhere in there. So anyways, that's how they feel. That's kind of what I'm expecting, but let's go throw it and see how they fly. Okay, gonna be throwing at that kind of bright leaf, bright green tree out there. About 275 from where I've kind of marked this spot, so probably about where I'm expecting most of my mids to be getting to at about this point. So we've got a little bit of a, it's kind of swirling, mostly a right to left, maybe a little bit of a headwind. So I'm gonna throw each of these one time and then see what kind of wind I really want to throw them in. So let's give it a shot. Okay, up first, I'm going to throw this Nocturnal Flex Mustang. These were pretty low glide and kind of stable, so we'll see how it flies, especially in this crosswind. Wind's kind of holding it up. Next up, this is a second run Sublime Mustang. Again, I never found these to be super stable, but it's mostly because I throw with a lot of torque. Let's see if I can kind of get it to show that stability that everybody else knows it for, but pretty swirly Mustang. Well, probably didn't see that shot. A little windy and blew the camera over, so try and find something to weight this down, or I might have to find somewhere else to throw. Okay, let's try that again. This is the second Sublime Bobcat. See how it flies. This one's kind of beat in, so maybe not as stable. Definitely still stable. Okay, that crosswind's kicking in. Now I got a fresh second run Glow Bobcat, so really expecting this one to be pretty beefy. Yeah. Okay. Here's the heavy Apex taco I've had in my bag for a while, so it's pretty beat in, but this is what kind of the rodeo might be like. Yeah, still getting that kind of just like drift to the left I usually get from that. I'm just gonna get a more of a comparison. Here's a fresh, heavy Apex taco. Oh, yank that to the right. You'll see that wind just push it back. Got a hold of that one. Okay. Here's the Mega Soft Eternal Rodeo. Really low glide. The Mega Soft kind of wanted to suck to the ground. It's pretty common in that plastic. Okay. Here's the regular Eternal Rodeo. It's got a little more dome, so I wonder if it'll have a little more glide. Oh, I completely missed my line there. Slop. Oh, okay. I might need to readjust with this wind. This tailwind and crosswind and swirling is not giving me a lot of good readings. Okay, well, we had a nice target to shoot for, but that wasn't really working out. So we're going to swap. I found a nice tree to anchor the tripod to, but now we're throwing pretty much straight into a direct headwind. So let's try that again and see how these discs compare. Okay, again, starting with the Nocturnal Flex Mustang. Oh man, I threw that straight into the ground. Okay, second run Sublime Swirly Mustang. Yeah, I swear that's not a lobster, so quite a bit of wind. So second run Sublime Bobcat. Okay, maybe a little too windy today. Here's the second run Nocturnal Bobcat. Oh boy. Here's the heavy Apex Taco that's been in my bag. Brand new Apex Taco. The wind's just holding everything up. Okay, here's the Megasoft Eternal Rodeo. Also just wants to get into the ground. Here's the Eternal Rodeo. Kind of fought back a little bit there. I'm gonna give it a second, see if this wind dies down, but right now this is not conclusive for getting any good evidence. This wind's really playing games with me because as I go collect the disc, it kind of dies down, and when I get back over here, it picks back up. I'm gonna keep trying and at least be able to salvage some good flights with these. So I'm gonna throw one more time into this headwind. Might start putting them on some angles, just make sure they don't flip over. That's where it gets a little unpredictable, but let's give it another toss. All right, first up, this second run Sublime Swirly Mustang. Definitely flips over a lot, but that's what I expect in a headwind. It came out of it at the end though. Next up, this Nocturnal Flex Mustang. That one wants to fight the wind a little bit more. Still definitely getting pushed over. Okay, the second run Sublime Bobcat. There we go. Wind kind of kept it up in the air, but that's definitely a Bobcat. Next up, this second run Nocturnal Bobcat. Probably the beefiest disc. Preload glide, a lot of stability. I want to put that one on Annie even. Okay, this is my beat in Apex Taco. Oh, yank that one over. I think he's going to fight back. Just a little. All right, here's a slightly lighter weight but brand new Apex Taco. That one really wants to go. This is the Eternal Megasoft Rodeo. Man, really wants to get to the ground. And here's the regular Eternal Rodeo. Those really feel like they've got like two glide. They're holding up, holding up. Yanked it. Lifting that. That thing doesn't want to stay in the air. Okay, I'm going to throw them on hyzer and see if I can get any different results. Okay, because the wind's making things interesting, I'm going to kind of throw them all on kind of slight hyzer and see if we can get a little more consistent flights. Still flipped up real nice. Like that. Real nose up. Got lifted big time. Don't expect the Bobcat to flip up, but yeah, I gotta get that pushing hyzer. This one's definitely not gonna flip. Big skip. Taco. Just wants to ride that. Another taco. Oh, way too much hyzer. Is that how you get it to stay in the air? I can't figure out this disc. Even holding that Bobcat up until it dumps. I think that was Annie, but kind of flipped that taco over. Oh, the thing just wants to ride. Woo. Ah, so much off axis torque there. Okay. I'm going to try and find a spot to throw them into tailwind to get a little bit more feedback, but I think I kind of am starting to figure out how they fly. Yeah, wind died down, but more of a tail when it picks back up over here. There we go. Real stable. Feel that want to get down. The Eternals, a little less stable, but both very little glide. Oh, smackdown. Oh, snap. Whoops. Got a hold of that one. Tacos are fun. Okay. It's about as good of a rib, but even then at the end, just want to slap it down. Okay, let's go form some thoughts. Okay. The wind certainly made that interesting. Um, we'll see after I edit this how many like shots I'm able to get on camera, but through each of these, probably about 8 times on film, a few times off camera. Tried to mix it up in that crosswind initially, but the camera wasn't having it, fell over. Switched to throwing into a straight headwind so I could anchor it on a tree. Got a little bit of info out of that, real unpredictable. And then through the last few in a tailwind. Um, I'll just start off with this Megasoft one. I've thrown it the most out of any of them. Just like with the Megasoft pickles when they came out, don't love it, especially in the summertime. Hopefully in the winter, it might be a, if you like this one in the summer, this one kind of takes its place in the winter. Little, definitely less dome than this other just regular Eternal Rodeo. One's a 180 and one's a 179, so really not much weight difference, but I think just the slight stiffness of this regular Eternal gives it a little more of that dome, and I think we saw that carry over with a little bit more glide. Definitely, what has more glide than both these rodeos is I forgot how glidey some of these tacos could be, especially when I was throwing this lighter weight one. I mean, it's only 174, so not like lightweight by any means. Especially in the headwind, and then sometimes in the tailwind, it would just pick up and was just going forever. Actually, one time in the tailwind, I did get this one. This is my beat-in one, so it kind of went about 320 there at the end, throwing into a tailwind, kind of crossed the road. Wasn't expecting that. Uh, Mustangs, as predicted, into a headwind, kind of turned over, but didn't completely flip over, which is nice. I mean, both of these are pretty stable of the Mustangs, but a pretty predictable flight. A Mustang's a disc I've been throwing for a while in different plastics and different runs. So they were a nice neutral. Knew what I was going to get with them. Bobcat, same way, pretty predictable. Um, they just kind of don't flip over and they want to get to the ground, which comes to trying to figure out where the Rodeo fits in between these three discs. I'll start with this regular Eternal one with a little more dome. It's probably got about the glide of maybe the same glide as a taco, um, maybe a little less glide, but I think a little more flip up than the taco. So if the taco is a negative zero point 0.5, not even maybe a 0.5 something 0, 2 or 3, I'd say this one's like a maybe a negative zero point 0.5, negative 1, because especially when thrown in the headwind, they did want to kind of flip up a little bit and ride, but then that kind of low glide kicked in and they dumped to the ground. So it's almost like they have, how do I put this? They've got about the turn of these like stable Mustangs. They've got the glide and the stability of a Bobcat. Uh, yeah, but then they feel like a taco. I know that's not super helpful. I was to say maybe the wind contributed to it, but still a little inconclusive. After throwing them into the ground a few times, they still have this kind of micro bead, so I do think it is more of a little micro bead than flashing. I didn't really feel it too uncomfortable when throwing, so not something to worry about. But I know it's not super helpful, but maybe once you watch the video, you can see a little bit more. But really, it's like you got to get one to find out how it flies for yourself. Like I said, I really do kind of like the hand feel. It feels a little deep, but especially this domey one, it feels like deep, but then you get the glide for it. Um, Again, apologies, can't control the wind. That's kind of what I wanted, but maybe not that much wind, that much swirly. But these are the new Mint Disc Rodeos. They're, I guess, third mold now, fourth mold now, produced by Prodigy. Coming in Megasoft Eternal and regular Eternal for now. I'm sure more on the way. But comparing it to some Bobcats, some Mustangs, and some tacos, also from Mint Disc. All three of those were previously manufactured or still manufactured by MVP. Anyways, that's going to do it for this quick rodeo comparison. So hopefully the video turns out better and some of the flights start to learn something. But I'd like to thank my sponsors, Loot, nice bag, keeping my hands consistent out here. And then, of course, Mint, all these discs, and they're starting to get some cooler jerseys now. So anyways, hopefully that wasn't terrible, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.